Funding for This Is Nashville comes from you, our listeners, and Amazon, proud sponsor of WPLN's daily show, This Is Nashville, engaging our differences so we can discover our unity. More on Amazon's community work at aboutamazon.com.
I'm Jude Mason, filling in for Khalil Ekalona, and this is Nashville. Lo-Fi is the debut novel from Nashville-based author Liz Riggs. Based in the sweaty music venues and late-night house parties of Nashville in 2010, Lo-Fi has been described as swoony, sexy and melancholy, a tattered love letter to youth music in Nashville. Later in the show, I'll be joined by Mike Grimey Grimes, owner-operator of Grimey's Records and the Basement Venues, and WNXP's Events and Promotions Director Emily Young to talk further about the Nashville music ecosystem in which the novel is set. But first, I'm delighted to welcome Liz Riggs, author of Lo-Fi. Hello.
Hi.
Welcome to This Is Nashville.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, first, congratulations on your debut novel.
Thank you.
How has this experience been?
It has been insane. We had the launch party last night at the OG Basement, which you were at.
I was.
Which was a dream come true. This has been a long time coming. About 2 years of lead up since I sold the book.
When did you start writing the book?
I started writing the book in May of 2020.
Wow, so 4 years. And where were you when you wrote the book? Were you here in Nashville?
I was here. I was sitting in my backyard. It was, it was COVID, but I think some of us in Nashville may remember that it was also a really beautiful spring. And so I was really bored one day. And because I had just turned in my master's thesis, which was another manuscript. I just turned it in and I didn't have anything to write. And I started writing this and I was sitting in my backyard and I was very smitten from the first. I wrote this line that you'll hear in a little bit and I was so smitten. And then I just went on a frenzy and I kept writing and kept writing and kept writing.
Now, I heard you say last night during the book launch, which was a lot of fun, the mayor was there, which is pretty good.
Mayor Freddie, thank you so much. He was there.
I heard you say that when your parents were moving house, you discovered a paper from third grade that said, "When I grow up, I want to be a writer."
Yes.
I love that. So well done. Congratulations.
I did it.
You did it.
Thank you, third grade Liz.
And then later on, I heard you say that you saw something specific that defined the kind of writer that you want to be. Can you tell us about that?
Of course. So sometime in high school, my best friend from high school, huge musical influence on me, my friend M, sat me down and we watched Almost Famous. I believe this is what you're talking about.
It is what I'm talking about.
And I had never seen it. I was learning everything about music then, a little bit of a late bloomer to the musical world. And I said, I want to be William Miller, which I think also meant I want to be Cameron Crowe. And I just fell in love with it and decided kind of then that I wanted to start writing about music. And so, yeah, I started writing like fake album reviews in my notebooks. I'm not kidding. I would write like a review of like Revolver.
Oh, yeah.
I was Lester Bangs and I was writing it was whatever year the album came out. And I would write these fake reviews and I would write my emo song lyrics and I would review, for no one, just for myself. And I would read Rolling Stone and like mimic what I saw there. And that was the beginning kind of my writing journey.
And then you did start off in music journalism when you moved to Nashville.
Yes. Sometimes the word music journalism feels like a stretch for me because it felt so small potatoes. But yes, I would pitch bands that I loved that were coming through town. I got connected to an editor at American Songwriter and I helped with a friend's music blog. And I would just write about any album or band that I loved. I would pitch and I'd be like, do you guys know Blind Pilot? I'm obsessed with them. Can I interview them? And, sometimes they would let me, which was insane because I was basically just a fan. And I just wanted to talk to them and ask them questions and tell them how much I love their music. But I would also get to write about it. And that was super cool. American Songwriter in particular, because I got to do like a handful of things for them. And that was like huge for me because I was also teaching high school at the time. So this was a nice outlet after school.
Now, you say that you wrote emo lyrics in your journal, but when you wanted to be a writer, you wanted to be commenting on it, not being a songwriter, or is that something that you wanted to do as well?
What a fun question. No, I think that the way that I have described it before is that lyrics were the type of writing that I fell in love with first. I was always like a reader, but I was not like your typical, I think when you talk to a lot of authors, they're like, oh, I was the most voracious reader when I was young. I loved to read and I did read a lot, and English was always my favorite subject. But like the writing that sunk its teeth into me was songwriting. And so I would like study lyrics and I would learn every word to every song, and then I would write my own. It was also just like, you're 16, you have so many feelings, and what are you supposed to do with them all? So I'd be like writing little poems about like whatever guy had dumped me that week. And I just, and again, I'm like listening to Something Corporate and Jack's Mannequin and Death Cab and like just channeling that. But yeah, that was the music or the words that I fell in love with first.
But you didn't then go and pick up a guitar?
Well, no, I did.
Oh, you did?
But I wasn't really songwriting. I started playing guitar at the time. A close friend of mine had started playing, and I was like, this is so fun. I want to like play these Michelle Branch songs with you in my room. Yes, 100% Michelle Branch. That was huge for me.
Absolutely.
We went to that show at Bogart's in Cincinnati. It was like one of my very first concerts, and I was just elated. But I never really, don't consider myself a songwriter. I have written songs. I have written maybe 10 songs total in my life. But
there's something about talking about the lyrics, about bringing the music and sharing the music with other people that kind of sets a fire in you. That's what it sounds like.
Yes. I mean, like I love music so much, and I've like wanted to just have my ears on any element of it all the time.
Where did you grow up? When did you move to Nashville?
So I was technically born in Nashville. People don't know this. My parents lived in Franklin. I was born in Franklin. My parents lived out there for about 10 years. But I grew up in Cincinnati. We moved when I was very young. And then I moved here directly after college through a teaching program. And I kind of chose it because my family had Tennessee roots. My dad went to Vanderbilt. My mom is from Chattanooga. And I had come here once in high school and hilariously walked down Broadway, which I don't know if Broadway would steal my heart like today.
It's a little different.
In 2024 Nashville. But I was like, I just was looking around like there's so much music. There's so much life here. And I was so smitten. I was in town for like a soccer tournament. So a big athlete my whole life. And I always remembered that though. And so I was given this like preference of cities to choose where I wanted to rank of where I wanted to go teach. And I ranked Nashville on the top. And then, I mean, that's where the story begins.
The rest is history.
The rest is truly history.
Okay, so I am talking to Liz Riggs, author of Lo-Fi, a fantastic debut novel. I say fantastic, I've read it already, and it's amazing. I sent Liz a picture of me crying at the last page, but I'm going to get you to read the opening couple of pages for us. Lo-Fi, Liz Riggs, please read an excerpt from the book.
Lo-Fi, here we go. This is the very beginning of the book. I stamp hands at the venue off 8th. I like asking for people's wrists, the spot where the forearm fades into the joint, where the skin is always smooth, like the reed of a woodwind instrument before it's been used. Watch the ink sink in there, the familiar shape of a curled up cat, ruddy red and orange, the color of rust. I prefer the early part of the week, the open mic nights on Mondays, the bright-eyed undergrads with long hair and surprisingly sharp vocals, the indie bands with too many members and sleepy refrains who look bored by their own beats, playing to a petered-out crowd on a drizzling Tuesday. No one talks about the type of grit it takes to play to a mostly empty room, especially here in Nashville, the way the sound reverberates off the corners of the space like it weighs something. I tried it once, on stage, playing my own songs. Don't ask. But even the bad people who play here are good, making the kind of music you hold your breath to, where you don't even realize you aren't breathing until the song ends and you're suddenly coming up for air. The rain won't relent tonight. It falls on the sidewalk in waves, muffling all of their sound. Heels on concrete, cab doors slamming shut, voices of early arrivers huddling under the overhang outside the doors. It's a rhythmic, frenzied torrent. It's a Saturday in May and I'm working the door with Julian, the skinny guy who's always sitting somewhere reading. Julian has worked here since before I started. His black hair, normally straight, is slightly wavy from the weather, black jeans and a dark gray t-shirt with just one sleeve rolled up, as if the other had come undone while we were prepping the doors. His red chucks squeak on the linoleum. Tonight he's quiet, drinking tap water out of a plastic cup, thumbing through the Nashville scene, which is mostly ads for dry cleaning places and 2-for-1 bar specials. He carries the same ratty messenger bag every night, as though we're the kind of workplace that requires work things, a computer or notebook or files. Tonight there's a book sticking out of it, one I've never heard of. If I wanted to work in silence, I tell him, I would have become a writer. Didn't you study poetry? So technically speaking, aren't you? He asks, glancing up, long hair in his eyes. A writer, I mean? A slight chill pricks at the base of my neck. Or a librarian, I say.
Thank you so much. If you're just tuning in, this is Nashville, and I'm Jude Mason, sitting in for Khalil Ekalona. We're talking this hour with author Liz Riggs about her debut novel, Lo-Fi, which is set right here in the Nashville music scene. Liz just read us the opening pages of the book, setting the scene and introducing us to the main protagonist, Al Hunter. Thank you so much, Liz. That was wonderful.
Oh,
and now,
you.
One of the main characters in Lo-Fi is Nashville itself.
Yes.
You've mentioned a lot of real life places and even people in the book. And yet the venue, the club where a lot of the book is set, is indeed a pseudonym.
Yes.
Why? I think if anybody reads the book who has been in Nashville, they will pretty much know which venue it is.
I don't really make it that hard to figure out. But yes, I didn't want to use a real name. Also, I don't even know if I would be allowed. But yes, the venue is based off of what many may remember, the beloved Mercy Lounge. You can't see me because I'm on the radio, but I'm holding my hands over my heart.
Yeah.
That is a place that I spent a lot of time at in 2009 when I moved here, and the years following that. And I think a lot of us did. That was it for me. That was just one of the epicenters of the scene at that time. And yeah, it's so the venue, I think it literally says in the book, like off 8th, which could also obviously be the OG basement.
Yeah.
But it also mentions being on Cannery Row. So it became a very, very beloved place, and a place that I spent a lot of time. And I don't know, when I started writing it, that was immediately in my mind.
I love it. How much of the book is autobiographical? Because you say you worked there. So obviously you are not Al Hunter.
No, and I didn't work there.
Oh, you didn't work there?
No, I never worked in a venue. I was teaching high school.
Oh, there you go.
I was a teacher.
For a second, I thought you worked in a venue.
No,
I'm getting
that's
my history
great.
mixed up.
No, that's fantastic. You should think that about me when you read this book. If you're going to connect me with my character, that means I did my job right. No. But autobiographical is... What a fun question. The way that I usually say this is that I poured a lot of myself into Al, our heroine, if you will, and a lot of my, like, for example, Al's music taste is my music taste, but cooler, basically. I tried to make her cooler and crazier than myself in many ways. And I would just say, yeah, there are things that are absolutely based on experience, and there are things that are absolutely not. But I think just the experience of, I was so inspired by everything in Nashville.
So two other threads that run through Lo-Fi are playlists, which Al puts together, which we're going to get back to later in the show, and also paragraphs of overheard Nashville conversations.
Yes.
They are snippets that are put in italics throughout the book, where Al, it just drops into the main flow of the book, and you see all these snippets of overheard conversations in Nashville. They are so funny and so familiar to people who live here. Could you read us the first one from the book? I
absolutely will. They are kind of insidery baseball, which was the point. And I will also just add, like, for the lore, these also used to be full of lyrics that she was like hearing. But fun fact, you mostly have to pay for every single lyric that you put into a book. And so it was we had to take some of them out because there were a lot. But yes, here's one of the overheard sections. If I don't hear Mr. Jones tonight, I'm going to lose it. Just a vodka tonic. Oh, whatever. Sure. Make it a double. Colt. Where are all the polishing rags? Someone threw up on the balcony. On it, not over it. I think that guy's doing lights on the Animal Collective tour. No. They got dropped. You want a bump? Don't text him back. Don't do it. Where's the A2 guy? Can you hold my drink? There isn't a nice way to say this, so I'm just going to say it. Oh, I sat next to him on a flight back from LA. They gave us a buyout. He knows I live here. Do you know how much money those Christian singers make? It's criminal. I'm talking about Crush, not Crash. Everybody's in town recording. Yeah, of course they're in a band.
Thank you so much. They are some of my favorite things, and they really, for those of you who are here in Nashville and live in Nashville, they are very inside baseball, as you say. Thank you so much, Liz. We have to take a short break. In a moment, Liz and I will be joined by Mike Grimey Grimes of Grimey's Records and the Basement Venues, and mentioned in Lo-Fi, and WNXP's Emily Young to talk about the Nashville music scene of 2010 when the book is set, and today, and also share some This Is Nashville playlists. We'll be right back.
Funding for This Is Nashville comes from you, our listeners, and Music City Prep Clinic, Nashville-based provider for PrEP, and offering comprehensive sexual health services in an environment designed to be safe, professional, and shame-free. Learn more at musiccityprep.org.
I'm Jude Mason, filling in for Khalil Ekalona, and this is Nashville. Today, we're looking at the debut novel of Nashville author Liz Riggs, Lo-Fi. I'm joined in the studio by the author, and I'm delighted to welcome WNXP's Director of Events and Promotions and Nashville native, Emily Young, and also Mike Grimes, owner of Grimey's Record and the Basement and Basement East venues. Hello.
Hi.
Howdy.
Thank you for coming in today. Grimey, I'm going to start with you. So Lo-Fi is set in Nashville 2010. In fact, in the opening, just after the bit that Liz read us, it talks about it's raining tonight and it doesn't stop raining. It literally starts the weekend of the flood. So any of those of us who are from Nashville, it puts us in a very definite place and time. How is the live music scene here in Music City different now in 2024 than it was then in 2010?
Well, I don't think it's that much different. I just think it's bigger.
Yeah.
There's more happening. There's more venues. And there are cycles. So the scene that was happening in 2010 has been largely replaced by an entirely different generation of new kids playing. And it's really exciting. That's the great thing about owning a venue is discovering new bands. There's a new band popping up that are starting today, I'm certain. And so that's there's just lots more of everything, and that's a great thing.
Is it the same struggle? Are there some of the same places where people are getting started? Is it easier? Is it harder as a Nashville band, as a band in Nashville, to get started today than it was then, or vice versa?
My answer would be it's probably easier now because there's more places that'll give you a shot.
Yeah.
You know, in 2010, there were probably 10 or 12 fewer like-minded venues to the Basement. Like there's so much, the East Room is opened and Dark Matter and D's and all these others that weren't there in 2010. And they're amazing part of the whole live music ecosystem. It's fantastic.
Emily, how old were you, if you don't mind me asking, in 2010 when this book is set?
I was 18.
You were 18. So this is, and somebody who has made their career within music in Nashville. And actually something else that happens in the book is that the protagonist and her friend start on a radio show, very similar, I would say, to you.
Yes,
so
very
what
much
was it
my
like
life.
growing up in the aughts and early teens here in Nashville?
Honestly, it's one of the most special things that could ever happen to a young person, a young music lover, I would say. And I don't know that I fully understood it at the time until now that I have further advanced my career within the music industry and meeting other people, and they're blown away that I have stories from being a teenager. And that's just not the norm. And to Mike's point, it's just this ecosystem is so special and it generates so many great artists, and not just that, music lovers. I mean, people are writing books about it. Like it's just an unreal special thing. And I don't know that I would be where I am or who I am in this job or in the role that I serve within this ecosystem had I not grown up here.
Where were some of your favorite places to hang out back when you were 18?
Ooh, and I feel like you asked this prior, and I blushed because I was like, am I allowed to reveal that I had a fake ID?
Okay, we'll just take it as read. So let's just go for it.
Well, there actually were pretty limited spaces, all ages spaces at the time. And I wanted to be able to go to Mercy Lounge and to exit in. And I had a fake ID so that I could, I feel like sometimes I would go and not even necessarily drink anything. I just wanted to get in and go to a show. And there was so much cool stuff happening. And I feel specifically around that age, it was exit in and Mercy Lounge. It was just, that's the right capacity for the type of music that I was interested in. Those were the clubs that these bands that I loved were coming through town. I was also going to a lot of house shows, and then I went to Belmont, and there were a handful of the house shows, and these venues are not real. It was like someone's scary basement where you're like, something might catch on fire. This is probably going to collapse. This is really scary. But those are places where I saw bands like Jeff the Brotherhood and Diarrhea Planet, and that really shaped, honestly, who I am as a human being.
That the house show scene is obviously something that crops up in the book as well. Is that something that you experienced back in the time, Liz Riggs?
It is. I bet we were at some of the same shows. I did not go to Belmont, but when I moved here, I was 22, and I somehow kind of fell in to this Belmont crowd through friends of friends, and we would show up to everything. Everyone thought we went to Belmont, and we'd be like, we're teachers actually. And yeah, like a show in some, like the Mumford and Sons show in Mike Harris's basement.
I was just, sweet.
That was insane.
Coyote Ranch is, that was the name of, anyway.
That was the name of his basement.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, you're right. But yeah, like things like that. And then I agree with you, I fell into that scene. And so a lot of Americana-y, Andrew Combs and people like that. Like, I feel like that's where I was also kind of falling in. And yeah, the house shows, I was like, this is a very special place.
And I don't know that happens in other cities, in the same way that it does here. We're just a place that really wants to allow us to play music wherever we possibly can, even if there is a hazard involved.
And Grimey, you say about the multi-generational aspect of this, like we are onto now, I know as a 50-something Nashville native, like my kids are in bands. And so we are into musicians, kids of musicians. We're into like third generation musicians playing in bands right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Does that make it harder or easier to break in, do you think? Are we looking at Nepo babies, or are these people really talented? I
think those are all individual cases.
Yeah.
Because I played with a Nepo baby. I played with Bobby Bear Jr. I was in a band called Bear Jr. Mm-hmm. Bobby Bear Jr.'s father was a very, very successful country singer in the 70s, but he distanced himself from he actually went with a record label that didn't know who he was. So he carved his name out without having, even though his name is Bobby Bear Jr. So it's like, I think it's on each individual artist. Some people can want to ride their parents' coattails, their famous parents' coattails, and some actually don't. It's like I say.
Now, I look back on those years. This is when I moved to Nashville in 2008, but the first time I visited Nashville was 1997. So the Nashville that I fell in love with is the Nashville running up to it, is the late 90s, the aughts, and then when I moved here. So I look back on this kind of Nashville, the way I have thought of it is before anybody talked about an it city, before the bachelorettes moved in, before Lower Broad. You were saying, like, when my big kids were little, it would be Saturday and we'd be like, oh, it's Saturday, let's go to Roberts, which isn't necessarily something that as Nashvillians we think about taking our children to Broadway on a weekend these days.
I did.
Oh, you did? Well, then good for you.
I will say I never did that as a child. Just so everyone knows.
You've got to keep your cred intact, right? But I look back at some of this time as it being this magical thing. But was it more magical then, or were we just younger and possibly drunk? That's the question to any of you.
I mean, I was definitely drunk a majority of the time. I can say that with confidence. But, I've been having a lot of these conversations lately because I am now reaching the age where we were very much the people kind of in the scene. Like, all of my friends were the bands that you're talking about, all of this. And now we're getting older and getting married and having kids. And so we are having these reflective conversations of like, old Nashville's dead. And it's, to Mike's point, it's just cyclical. It's just different. And it's different not in a bad way. It's just we're not in it because we're not supposed to be in it. It's for young people, and we are not the people that the scene is for anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't feel I don't feel nostalgic about it. I mean, I love all the years I've been doing this and been a part of it, but it's ever changing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm the guy who's the elder statesman, but all the people that are participating in it right now are the younger kids, and they completely energize me. And I cannot wait every Tuesday on our New Faces night to discover somebody new and start talking about them. I mean, that's why that's what we're going to talk about, the Weird Sisters and such and such. You know, it's like I don't feel nostalgia because it's never stopping. It never ends.
It isn't, and I love that there's. Every 4 years, you said when we were chatting the other day, there's almost like a new scene every 4 years as they grow up. Those 20-somethings.
But there's a common thread there. I mean, so this was set in 2010, and I was 18. But that is the exact same story that I could tell you from 2015 when I was working at a radio station and doing all this. It's the same thing. And so there were likely people saying, well, not 2020 because for obvious reasons, but saying right now they could read that book. And if they're in their 20s, they're saying, oh, yeah, that's the same thing. I do personally have nostalgia for it, but I think that's more just for my youth.
I agree. I was like, when you were talking, I was like, that's how I feel too. Very nostalgic for it, but I think it's about youth. And I think like I have drifted from the scene because it's like you said, it's like I'm 37. Like I'm not at shows as much anymore. And I will say that whenever I go to one, especially something like at the Basement or I'm seeing something in a small venue that's really intimate, I'm like, oh no, yeah, this is 100% still happening. There is still the magic here. I'm just not as close to it.
And I'm happy that I've made that my career because now I'm kind of forced to be part of it on the reg. Like literally, I go to, you know, even though I've got a wife and kids and very happily married and everything, I literally still go to shows 4 nights a week almost. Yeah. At least dropping by.
And you know. We are never the oldest person in the room. And that's what I do love about Nashville is that you will have 18-year-olds and you'll have guys with white hair and beards. And it's this fantastic broad spectrum of people that is Nashville. It's the young creatives and it's the music lovers and it's all of those. If you're just tuning in, this is Nashville and I'm Jude Mason, sitting in for Khalil Akolona. We're talking this hour with Liz Riggs, author of Lo-Fi, Mike Grimes of Grimey's Record Store and the Basement Venues, and WNXP's Emily Young. Our sister station and Emily and I's home, WNXP, recently dropped the first episode of a new podcast series, Music Citizens. In it, we look at the unsung heroes of Nashville's music ecosystem, the people who make Music City what it is, but aren't finding their faces on billboards or necessarily owning bars on Lower Broad. Jason Moon Wilkins and Justin Barney were on This Is Nashville this time last week to talk about the first episode, which looks at Bruce Fitzpatrick, the owner of legendary club The End. If you missed it, you can find it at thisisnashville.org or wherever you get your podcasts. As music citizens ourselves, Mike, who is an unsung hero in your mind?
Well, I would just broadly say the talent buyers. So I'm gonna give the award to our talent buyer at the Basement, Gil Costello.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, and he's representative of all the other talent buyers at the East Room and 5 Spot and everywhere else.
And for those who don't know, what does a talent buyer do?
A talent buyer fields requests from local musicians and national people from out of town, and basically puts together the schedule of bands that play in a room, and it really there's an art to it. You know, you kind of curate your own. You use your taste and your expertise to figure out, okay, because you can't just book. You have to book things that are going to bring people to drink beer.
Yeah.
You know, in our case, you know, and so it takes a lot of it takes a very special ear and eye to field all of those inquiries and distill it down to, you know, a program per month in your venue that actually can keep you sustainable.
Emily, who is your unsung hero in 1 minute?
Without feeling like I'm brown-nosing, it would be Jason Moon Wilkins, who is running WNXP Nashville. He is one of the individuals in this town who has taken on 1.5 million roles, probably done everything you could possibly do within the music industry. And the common thread throughout all of it is that he wants to keep this thing going, and he wants to elevate not just young artists and young bands, but young professionals, and continue to create this beautiful ecosystem from the 90s, from the early aughts, to keep going for years and years to come.
Yeah, music of all flavors for people with great taste. That's what I love about Jason. Yeah. Oh, yeah, Liz, you have one.
Okay, this is such a fan's answer because I've been sort of an observer of the scene and not really directly involved in it. But for me, it is the songwriters in rooms who are giving away these songs to major artists, and the average person does not know that songwriter's name and never will. unless they really, really go for it. And I have always just thought that's like such a crazy thing to be writing and giving your song away and being like, my name's not on it anywhere.
Yeah.
And that is such a key part of the city. So that's my fans' answer.
Yeah, it's a low ego role for sure. We have to take another short break, but when we come back, we're going to dive into the magic of playlists. Throughout Lo-Fi, Al, the protagonist, deals with emotions and events by putting together playlists of her favorite artists. I've asked each of our guests to make a 5-track playlist titled This is Nashville, and we'll explore them in just a minute. Join the conversation by tweeting us at This is Nashville. Stay with us. This is Nashville. I'm Jude Mason, sitting in for Khalil Ekalona, and this is Nashville. We're talking this hour with Liz Riggs, author of Lo-Fi, a new novel set in Nashville in 2010 to 2011. And joining the conversation are Mike Grimes of Grimey's Record Store and the Basement Venues, and WNXP's Events and Promotions Director and Nashville native Emily Young. Throughout the book, the main character, Al Hunter, puts together playlists from songs meant for nighttime driving only, through songs so aching you can only listen to them once a year, and songs to listen to when you're unsuccessfully trying to forget someone, to the songs I listen to when nothing else will do and when no one else is around, or everyone is around and nobody cares. Everybody loves a playlist. I've been making mixtapes since I was recording them off the radio on a cassette. My 12-year-old daughter has a playlist on Spotify where she's created a playlist where she makes the titles into a conversation. So she just strings them all together. So when you read the titles, it reads like somebody's talking to you, talking to each other. And I love it. But Liz, what is it about the act of putting together a playlist, of curating a collection of songs that is so fulfilling?
I mean, I think for a lot of us, it probably started when we were younger. You're doing it for yourself, but you were often also doing it for someone else, right? Like, I feel like some of us came of age, especially with this burn CDs. And I'm looking at Emily and with like permanent marker. I just think it's like you want to hear all your favorite songs in one place because they're not all on the same album, and you're trying to capture whatever you're feeling, at least for me, right in that moment. And it's like extremely present. Like I need to hear all these songs right now together as soon as possible.
It's also a good way of using somebody else's words to say how you feel.
Yeah, exactly.
And the one thing that a Spotify playlist does not have is your own artwork on the front cover. There's something I totally miss about that. In anticipation of today's show, I asked each of our guests to put together a 5-song playlist on the theme, This is Nashville. I've put together the short clips of each of the tracks so that we can get a bit of a feel for each selection. And then I'm going to have us all talk briefly about why you chose what you chose. So we're going to start with our Nashville native, Emily Young. So let's hear the playlist that Emily put together for This is Nashville.
Standing on the corner with a nickel or a dime, there used to be a rail car to take you down the line. But too much beer and whiskey to ever be employed, and when I got to Nashville, it was too much soldier's joy wasted on. Let's load the car up. I got a bag of ice. I got a 6-pack, and I don't wanna go back. I just wanna be your brother. I don't wanna be your lover. Whoa, 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 I wanna be your bro.
Well, I'm just a lonely traveler and I don't know where I'm bound. Oh, but if I keep on moving, then I know that I'll be found. I'll climb high atop a mountain, call for he who holds the crown. But until that day, keep on wondering.
So that was Emily Young's playlist. This is Nashville. I'm going to say the artists and the titles, and then I'm going to have you talk about it a bit. So we had Gillian Welch with Back in Time, Jeff the Brotherhood with Six Pack, Those Darlings, Be Your Bro, Bob Dylan's Nashville Skyline Rag, and Justin Townes' Earl, Wandering. Emily, what made you put these together for This is Nashville?
You know, it's kind of tricky because I do this every single day on WNXP is curate, you know, a lot of music for a lot of different listeners. But when it comes down to, I heard This is Nashville, I think, what are songs that are Nashville to me? What is home to me? And I will say that Gillian Welch, Back in Time, I mean, that song is the most relevant Nashville song. Let's drink around in Nashville before they tear it down. I feel that every single day. Jeff the Brotherhood and Those Darlings are very much my era of growing up in the scenes that you're describing in this book and being kind of this trash person in her 20s, you know, bopping around venues all the time. Nashville Skyline Rag. I mean, Bob Dylan, that's just an obvious one. I feel like that should make everyone's This is Nashville list.
Judging. I like that. Yeah, here we go.
Okay.
You're judging us.
That's part of this job is being critical about the songs everyone else will choose.
Fair enough.
Just so everyone knows, I will be judging. And then Justin Townes Earl, another Nashville artist who was very much a part of my time and my upbringing here. And I don't know, sadly we lost both Jesse Zazu of Those Darlings and Justin. And there's something now, listening to their music feels even more homey, if that makes sense. Just such an integral part. And their legacy lives on in the scene every single day.
Is there such a thing as a Nashville sound in your mind?
I mean, I think there's sounds, plural. And, you know, I keep circling back, and I just love that Mike said this because I say it all the time, is that we do have this cyclical scene here. And so I feel like there's an era of like, this is the sound. And then however many years later, there's a new, this is the sound. And it's, I feel like you can kind of try to categorize it in that way. But I think the consistency is typically that it's good. I mean, there's just no denying the talent and the heart that lives here.
I love that. Okay, thank you so much. So we're going to go on to our second playlist, which is going to be that of author Liz Riggs. My name's Jude Mason. You're listening to This is Nashville, and Liz Riggs has published this week Lo-Fi, a book set in the Nashville music scene in 2010. And so I've asked her to put together a playlist, of which she has several on Spotify because of the book. But this is her This is Nashville playlist for us today.
But every day they lose that little sliver of the truth. They find a way to ride the wave and take it all from you. It's like finding out the stars that shine are locked up in a private sky. It's enough to make a clever man quit. And baby, I'm the guy who hates on all of it.
Drink less, 'cause Lord knows I could use a warm kiss instead of a cold goodbye. I'm riding the folks back home to tell them, hey, I'm doing all right.
Something different bloomed, writing in my room. I play my songs in the parking lot. I'll run away from sprinkler splashes to fireplace ashes. I called a taxi to take me there.
I only hear your voice when I know that you're not here with me. And I know love's not a lie, but I have a hard time believing I'm still living in the history of a feeling. And
I swim across an ocean, it's my mattress in the basement. I'm sweating out excuses that would make your stomach turn. The road we drove last night stretched from the desert to Las Vegas. We filled our cups and lit one up, the snow began to burn. Oh, maybe we were made for each other. Is it possible for the world to look this way forever?
Okay, so that is Liz's playlist, and she actually submitted 6, but I eliminated the last one because she cheated. So Liz's playlist, that was Vinnie Paolizzi, All About Green, The Format, If Work Permits, or If Work Permits, Taylor Swift, You're on Your Own, Kid, Maddie Diaz, History of a Feeling, and Jack's Mannequin, MFEO. Liz, tell us about, because they weren't all Nashville artists, so what about those songs made you think this is Nashville?
Yeah, like you said, I cheated. I have trouble following rules. Well, I really wanted to pick a few that were both my old Nashville, like Emily was saying, that felt like home. So Vinny is a new friend of mine. He played at the launch last night, and I just felt so hard for this song, All About Green. It makes me cry now. The Format is actually from that song is the epigraph of the book, and I did just indie pop band that I've just loved forever. Obviously, Taylor Swift. Our own, our one and only, Nashville's own. And that song has just kind of made me feel all kinds of things recently. And then Maddie in particular, we all know and love. And that was special because she was really a part of the scene when I moved here and still is. Mm-hmm. And it's just been so cool to watch and listen to her. And then Jack's Mannequin, MFEO, another just all-time favorite band of mine. Some of those were songs that I was just listening to when I moved here. And so I was driving around 2009 just screaming in my car, and they feel like Nashville to me for that reason as well.
I love that. And I wish there were cameras in the studio sometimes I don't, but you should have seen all of us like lip syncing along to all of those songs with our hands in the air. It was really fantastic. Okay, third playlist up. Mike Grimey Grimes has put together a playlist for us with the title This is Nashville. Hit it.
It's a cold June, makes it harder to love you, harder to hold you. Cold June, with the flowers not blooming and doubt all consuming if we'll make it through this cold June.
I've been drinking with the devil and burning all my find the peace that I had before it all got true.
Can you make an exception for the underdressed tonight? I can't sit straight with the rat people out and about tonight.
5 from the brain of Mike Grimey Grimes. Grimey, we had Gloom Girl MFG with Bougie Girl. We had the Weird Sisters with Ultraviolet. Lily Mae with Cold June. Nikki Diamonds with Rock of Ages. And Jive Talk with Rat People. 3 of those songs I had never heard before. So you have gone for all new acts, is that right?
I just felt this was the perfect platform to expose some of the greatest stuff that's happening right now. Actually, Lily Mae is the exception. She's not brand new. She's been around for quite some time. But if I start at the beginning, like Gloom Girl are a band that played our New Faces night at the Basement, and literally that's like my favorite night of the week is Tuesday night. I host New Faces night, and every few months there's just a band that plays, and I'm like, you're my new favorite band. Mm-hmm. And that was Gloom Girl a year ago, December, and they played. We got them a gig opening for Explosions in the Sky at the Ryman.
And Emily booked them for our 91 Day last September as well, yeah.
They're fantastic. Weird Sisters, another band that played New Faces night in 2018, I think. Mm-hmm. They've been around longer than you think, but their profile's raising in an amazing way right now. they're so dreamy and crazy, and the vocals sometimes they're female and male. I can hear this band playing for 3 hours at Bonnaroo at 2:00 in the morning next year.
Yeah, and that band, I would hasten to add, like any 20 seconds I could have picked from that song would have sounded completely different. They're one of these incredible bands that goes in and out of everything from like classical to thrash metal to electronica with live saxophone. Like they're remarkable.
They do it effortlessly.
Yeah.
And then I come to Lily May, because to me, Lily May is the greatest artist that hasn't been fully discovered, like so many of our friends who've gone on to do such huge things. To me, she stands exactly right alongside all of them. And so any chance I get the chance to talk about Lily May Riche family, I'm like, they're Nashville's one of the greatest things that we have. And then I moved to Nicky Diamonds. Actually, he played New Faces Night a few weeks ago, and he's a member of the Black Opry Review. He just moved here from Texas, and he just sounded, and it was wild because I'd had Shabuzi the night before at the Basement East, and that's like it was #1 country song in America. And then the very next night at New Faces Night, an artist that was real Americana country, black, and absolutely floored me. And I was like, wow, this is incredible to have somebody like that move into town as well.
Yeah.
And the last band, Jive Talk, was just another band that they've kind of filled the niche of Nashville's LCD sound system kind of vibe, and they blew it up at the Tomato Fest last year. We curated the Tomato Fest lineup and came out, and I think they all lost about 8 or 9 pounds during their performance because they were just kicking it so hard.
And it was reasonably warm. Let's remember, it is always reasonably warm that weekend.
It will be this year.
It will as well. We will all sweat off half our body weight, let's hope. Okay, I think we've got time for mine. Thanks, Mike. I have put together a playlist. And I love doing this. So let's hear my This Is Nashville playlist.
Nothing but a sad situation. I think I need another new vacation. She says I need a little education. If it's not me, it's 'cause your family. If it's not me, it's 'cause your family. Yeah, it's a crime that you can't get away from.
Off my lineup, talking about I'm the realest, you sorta kinda hit the club and make the whole line hold up. From the bottom to $1 million, shoulder.
Someone watching over me. Maybe they see some I don't see. I don't know, but I won't let them down.
When you look at me, I feel like I'm 17. I can't grow up for you now. Give me baseline, give me dollar wine. God gave me feet for dancing, and that's exactly what I'll do. Give me high life, give me good times. God gave me feet for dancing. Standing on a soapbox, how'd I ever get this high? Yeah. Above the walking wounded, above the meek and mild, looking down the barrel of the gun I aim to fire. Yeah.
That was my 5-track playlist. I started with the same band that Grimey started with, Gloom Girl MFG with Crimes. We had 6-1 Tribe, Paradise Lost, Bats, Downtown Sucks, You Can't Park Anywhere, the Ezra Collective with God Gave Me Feet for Dancing, and Julie Lee with Soapbox. So I love Gloom Girl. The first time I heard them was at WNXP's 91 Day, and they just blew my mind, and I chatted to them afterwards. That was at the Blue Room, and they are so, so good. One of those bands that you just stand in the room with and you're like, wow, how are we here? How are they not huge already? They're incredible. 6-1 Tribe, there is the most incredible hip-hop scene in Nashville. at the moment. We are so lucky to have these guys there. They're like the Wu-Tang of the South. They're based up in Inglewood, and they've got new music coming out. And again, we have hosted them at WNXP. And if you don't know of 6-1 Tribe, you need to go and listen to it. Their flow is impeccable. Their flow is inscrutable. It's just the most incredible hip hop, and I feel very cool when I'm around them. Bats, I have to say, I love Bats, and I also picked that song because the title is hilarious. Downtown Sucks, You Can't Park Anywhere. It's so in Nashville. It just makes me love it, and it's that kind of Americana feeling. Ezra Collective are not from Nashville. One of the things I was thinking when I was putting this together, and one of the things that Lo-Fi has done, is that so many of the bits in the book, she talks about driving around Nashville. And when I talked to Grimey about it, he said that the way that Liz, and I'm bigging you up here, babe. Liz talks about Nashville in the book. She talks about venues so much that Grimey said you can hear the beer bottles when you're reading the prose. And I felt that when she talks about driving around with Al, the protagonist Al and her roommate Sloan, they're driving around with the windows down, listening to the music. I could almost smell the Nashville heat. And it made me think about those wonderful nights driving around Nashville with the windows open and what is the perfect thing to listen to. Ezra Collective are a Mercury Award-winning band from the UK, and that is their newest one, God Gave Me Feet for Dancing. And I ended with my Nashville treasure, Julie Lee, one of the reasons I moved to Nashville. She's an amazing unsung hero, and the music is saying so it's time for us to go. Thank you so much to Emily Young, for Mike Grimey Grimes, and most of all to Liz Riggs for writing such an amazing book. For real, go to a local bookseller and buy it. Thanks for tuning in this hour. This is Nashville is a production of Nashville Public Radio. Today's episode was produced by me, Jude Mason. It was directed by Tasha A.F. Lemley. Our technical director and board operator is Liv Lombardi. The masterminds behind the music are Laurent and Namir Blade. Special thanks to WPLN for trusting me to do this, and to Khalil Ekalona for being such a support. Listen back to thisisnashville.org or wherever you get good podcasts. The conversation doesn't end here. Tweet us at This Is Nashville. Find us on Instagram. Tell us what you want from our show by filling out a quick survey online. You can also call and leave us a message on 615-760-2000. This is Nashville. I'm Jude Mason. Khalil Ekalona will be back in this normal seat tomorrow. And starting next Monday, you can join me Monday to Friday from 10 till 2 on our sister station, WNXP. Be kind, love well, goodbye.